Welcome to Nostalgia Sauce, a journey through the iconic items, trends, and movements that defined the 1980s. Join us as we revisit the trends and innovations that left an indelible mark on a generation. Explore the vibrant highs and quirky lows of the 80s, where fashion, technology, and pop culture collided in unforgettable moments. Stick till the end to see an absolute legend in the dance community. Starting at number 1, the Rubik's Cube. The three-dimensional game known as the Rubik's Cube became famous in the 1980s as a sign of both challenge and creativity. Ernest Rubik created it in 1974, and it became the most famous toy in the world in the 1980s. Its bright colors and complicated patterns showed how interested people were in new ideas and intellectual activities at the time. The cube spread around the world and became a sign of intelligence and drive. As its fame grew, competitions, books, and a group of fans sprung up. With its lasting impact, the Rubik's Cube not only entertained, but also pushed people to solve problems and think critically. It left an indelible mark on the intellectual landscape of the 1980s. Number 2, the Boombox. In the 1980s, the boombox became a sign of the decade. It changed the way music was made by making it portable and powerful. It became a part of street culture and became a symbol of the growing hip-hop and breakdancing scenes of the time. With its big, bold appearance, the boombox was more than just a music player, it was a statement. It had 2 audio decks that let you make mixtapes, which helped start a DIY music scene. People played the boombox together and shared beats in parks, public places, and on street corners. Not only did it change how people listened to music, but it also made the 1980s street culture more lively and exciting. Number 3, leg warmers. Leg warmers were a big part of 1980s fashion. They gave the era's varied style a touch of athleticism and a bright pop of color. They were first made for dancers but have since spread beyond the dance school and become a fashion statement for everyone. Leg warmers became a sign of fitness in the growing health craze because they were mostly worn with exercise clothes. But they weren't just popular at the gym. People wore them with skirts, leggings, and even jeans, showing how flexible they were. Leg warmers were a big part of the 1980s commitment to bold, expressive fashion. They helped create a time when people honored their individuality and self-expression through new, sometimes strange, styles. Number 4, members-only jackets. In the 1980s, members-only jackets were a must-have piece of clothing that summed up the stylish yet casual style of the time. These coats were very cool in the 1980s because of their clean lines, unique collars, and shoulder epaulets. They were once only worn by a select few, but later they became a culture phenomenon that men and women of all backgrounds loved. The jackets were a mix of class and casual style, and people wore them in a lot of different places, from fancy parties to the streets of cities. Members-only jackets were a sign of joining and urban chic. They captured the spirit of 1980s fashion and will have a lasting effect on the style of that time. Number 5, Pac-Man and arcade games. When Namco released Pac-Man in 1980, it was a big change in the history of video games. It was made by Toru Iwatani. It stands out because it is easy to use, has fun games, and has colorful characters. Pac-Man was different from other shoot-'em-up games because it was a non-violent maze chase game that more people could enjoy. The main character, a hungry yellow circle that had to find its way through mazes, became a famous figure in pop culture. Pac-Man's popularity went beyond video games and led to products, a cartoon, and even a hit song. This cultural phenomenon not only changed the way arcade games were played in the 1980s, but it also had an impact on later generations, confirming its place as a timeless classic in the history of electronic entertainment. Now, before we continue on to number 6, comment below if you have used any of the iconic items above. While you're at it, be sure to subscribe and hit the like button if you want to keep riding this wave. At number 6 we have MTV. When it first came out on August 1, 1981, MTV, music television, was a revolutionary tool that changed the music business and pop culture. MTV changed the way people watched music by making images as important as the music itself. They were the first to show music videos 24 hours a day. Its wide range of music and groundbreaking shows like Video Killed the Radio Star and Yo! MTV Raps made artists famous just by looking good. MTV turned into a cultural force that set fashion trends, shaped youth culture, and helped famous artists become famous. The network had a huge effect on the 1980s. It started a new era where music and images mixed, which changed the way music, fashion, and fun were done forever. Number 7. Jelly shoes. Jelly shoes, which came out in the early 1980s and are made of clear plastic, became a unique fashion style. These brightly colored PVC shoes were first made for beachwear, but they became so popular that they stopped being useful and became a fashion statement. The fact that they were cheap and had a unique, fun look made them available to a lot of people. The fashion scene of the 1980s was changed by jelly shoes, which were a fun and easy alternative to regular shoes. They were worn by people of all ages and became a symbol of the carefree and experimental spirit of the time. They will always be known as a sign of retro charm and personal expression. Number 8. Big hair. In the 1980s, big hair became a bold and classic fashion trend. It was marked by styled hair that was very full and teased in a way that seemed to defy gravity. Big hair became associated with the decade's flashy and extravagant style thanks to the glam rock and heavy metal scenes. The style, which was made possible by using a lot of hairspray, teasing combs, and styling tools, was a reaction against the simple looks of the previous decade. Big hair not only showed how free and open people were in the 1980s, but it also became a sign of rebellion and individuality. It changed the way people looked during that decade and will never be forgotten in the fashion and beauty industries. Number 9. Shoulder pads. Shoulder pads were a unique fashion style in the 1980s that came from women wanting to make their bodies look stronger and more confident. Shoulder pads became a sign of empowerment and equality as more women joined the workforce and the business culture changed. The style, which was made popular by designers like Giorgio Armani and power dressing icons like Joan Collins in Dynasty, had broad, padded shoulders that looked strong and sure of itself. The over-the-top shape made its way into everything from work clothes to casual clothes, leaving an indelible mark on 1980s style. Shoulder pads were a fashion statement that represented a time of change for women, combining fashion with societal shifts. They are still a symbol of 1980s power dressing. And we're finally at number 10, breakdancing. Breakdancing, also known as b-boying, began in the South Bronx in the 1970s and became a huge part of pop culture in the 1980s. Breakdancing is characterized by quick, improvised moves set to the beats of DJs. What made it special was that it encouraged individual expression in a group setting. Its effects were felt all over the world in movies, music videos, and fashion. Among the early settlers, Richard "Crazy Legs" Cologne became a legend. Crazy Legs became famous because of how well he danced. He was an important part of the rock steady crew and helped breakdancing become very popular. As our favorite breakdancer, Crazy Legs represents the spirit and history of breakdancing, which became a huge part of pop culture in the 1980s. Thanks for diving into the 80s nostalgia with us. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, hit the like button, share your favorite 80s memories in the comments, and subscribe for more retro content. What was your go-to 80s fashion or must-have item? Let us know. Check out our playlist for more 80s goodness. Stay tuned for future episodes, and until then, stay rad.